Hey guys, we're at the point where we're looking at getting your document chart to its final stage. First of all, I would just want to reinforce the reasons why we're doing the document chart and kind of how it fits into the overall goals we have for the course. It's a worksheet. Remember the example. I mean the reason you're doing it is so you will have the information you need whenever you apply for these jobs, and the committee's going to ask you what you know about writing in the area that you are going to be that you're applying for a job in. So you're the audience for the biggest part. You're the audience, but also our your fellow classmates are the audience because you want them to be able to see and read and kind of understand what you're saying. So anyway, Nick had asked for some help, and I said, "Well, why don't you let me use yours as an example to do a video on?" And he was very nice to do that. And I really appreciate Nick doing that, and all the Nick also has been asking me some questions about how to put in his example text over here because some of them aren't freely available on the internet, and these are all things that we have to deal with all the time. So these are good questions, and I really appreciate him trying to figure out, how's the best way to do that. And the reason they're good questions is because, we read, I had you guys read about writer based and reader based text. And anything you produce, you're wanting to help the reader to be able to follow it and make sense. So if we look at the charts that you guys are making, and we think about, as a class, we're looking at these and trying to figure out how is it best to help the reader look at all that. So here's Nick's chart, and then here's the sample chart that you guys were given. So I'm going to kind of use it to point to some stuff, and then point to some specific things on Nick. And you can see here I do have, I made some, I've used the yellow to kind of make some reminders. And then I'm going to turn on review. So review's on, and I want to do all markup. So you can see here I've just been looking at it and made some comments for myself. And I'll save all this and post it in Blackboard for you guys, and then especially for Nick, so he can go in there and use that as he wants to do that. First thing, Nick's chart kind of goes on a little long, so and when I go to grade these and give you guys points, I don't I would never say you have to fit absolutely everything on one page, because that's not what it's all about. Your main thing is what you need to do for the reader. You want to make things make sense for the reader based on what it is you're trying to do. So what are we trying to do here? We're trying to put together a category to give us, basic information about how to talk about the kind of writing in whatever job we're looking at. One thing I see happening here with Nick's is, and this is a common thing. This is one of the harder things that to do with the assignment. What we're doing here, make sure you're not focusing on the content of the reports. Remember, we're talking about the reports, how they're written, how they're formatted, how they're laid out, what are the visual aspects, those kinds of things. And of course, the ethical things we have to think about. Like, see here, to identify psychological indicators, then create a systematic way. These are, I think, some of this I think is more the content. So if it's a diagnostic tool, how briefly can we say identify indicators? Then create a systematic way. Does all of that happen in this actual document here, or is this document used to do these things? So remember, we're not talking about the content of the document. So see, something like here, I think you could say scientific research, but if it's an article, see, it's an academic article, and the purpose of an academic article is to, as a writing format, we're thinking about a writing format. So really I don't know that I would call this diagnostic. Pathology. See, I'm having as a reader, and I'm kind of pointing these out because I'm having a little bit of trouble as a reader because I know Nick's got reasons why he's called this diagnostics and why he's called this pathology. Because, if I'm a veterinarian, when I'm doing diagnostics, I'm going to have forms to do diagnostics. I'm going to look at scientific research, but I'm not going to look at the research in order to identify these indicators and develop a system. I'm going to look at the scientific research to find out what is the current research being done. So here again, and that's it just makes sense that that Nick would be thinking this way because that's how generally you write about things when you write about things in classes. And that's what I mean by the challenge of what we're doing here. We're looking at how the documents are written. We're not looking so much at the content. And I know that's still kind of hard. So, don't beat yourself up if that's muddy in your mind because you're probably really normal if you're at that point. Okay, now document chart. Now for the reader, we can call this a document chart and you guys are going to understand what that means. But look at the sample one here. The sample one here says Android developer. So not only do we know it's a document chart, but we also know it's a document chart for an Android developer. So over here on Nick's, one way to help the readers would be to maybe say, instead of document chart, say veterinary documents or something like that. Or documents, you could say maybe documents used in veterinary medicine maybe, or practice or something like that. I don't know, but you see, any of that tells the reader a little bit more than just saying document chart. Okay. If you notice here, the sample chart, I've turned it into a Word document. And if you look at the page setup, he's actually using something called Tabloid. It doesn't, here we go, Tabloid. So he's using Tabloid. And Tabloid's a little bit bigger. It's 11 by 17. And then, of course, you guys have been using the, what's this one called? Suddenly left me. Anyway, y'all are using this version where it's wider than taller. So if we go back over here to Nick's, let's do File, Page Setup. And then instead of the letter, let's do... See, mine doesn't give me tabloid, so I'm just going to do, let's see, I think it was 11 by 17. Okay, yeah, 11 by 17. And then make the margins smaller. And then say, okay. Now, we're going to be using this document pretty much in a digital format. So when you think about digital formats, that gives you a lot more options if you're going to print it out on a piece of paper. So see, when I do this is going to give us a whole lot more room. And I'm going to leave ethical concerns a little bit bigger. So, because we've got more description there generally. Format, we can leave a little bit bigger. Length doesn't have to be very big. So let's make purpose a little bit bigger. Okay, so see, that helps a whole bunch right there. Here, these are headings. So you want these to be centered. And these categories over here, if you go back and look at the sample document, you can see here we have the text centered. But if you look at all the other, it's left aligned. Now, centered text is harder for readers to read, and it's generally only used for things that you really want to stand out, like titles. So I'm going to take all of this. I'm not going to do all of it. I'm just going to stay mainly on this one page because There's several pages here, but I'll show you how to do all this stuff here. And then we want to left align it. And that's going to save with space too, and that's going to make it easier for you to work with the document. Now, you see over here, you guys don't have to use color, but color, might be useful and helpful to you. Even if you just, kind of, let me see what I can do here real quick. Let's see. I'm not the best at this stuff. You could even just do, oops, no, that's the wrong one. That's the text. So let me see. Table. Table properties. Here we go. I think it's this one. What if I just did this? Well, that didn't do it either. Oh, it did that one. Okay. So let me back up here. Okay. Let me choose the... Let me see if I can do it now. Let's see. Here we go. There we go. Okay. So that gives you a little bit of... and then you could take these if you wanted to and just use a little bit of a different color. Let's say if we just did those, maybe this color. Okay. So you see how just that little bit, see what that does for the reader. Makes a big, huge difference. And like I said, I'm not going to count off if you can't do this, if you can't figure it out. But these are all really good things to kind of know about and think about. Okay, now the categories. Think about the categories, and the formats. Over here, the chapter and the Tableau text. Use the way that Tableau and Draga are talking about writing. Use that stuff. So here, category. See, categories are not going to be real specific. This Texas Sea Life Center, whatever, that's the specific name of the form. It's a form. I called it an intake form. Now, if Nick was going to talk about more than one form, he could say forms. Because I think maybe this second one is a form. And maybe they're both diagnostic forms. But see, these are questions that I have. I'm not sure. But let's say, what if although this says it defines medical acronyms. So I guess this is just more informational. This would be an informational chart maybe. So, and then the other thing is Nick has diagnostics here. If you have more than one, like here, pathology, you can make these two. If I go up here under table and merge, I won't be able to change. So see, pathology. So then we've got pathology as one category. See, now we know these two things are under pathology. But see, when you look proposal and research, see, pathology is the content. Here again, that's focusing on the content. So see, really this should be proposal. Okay. Okay. Kind of writing, category. So it's really a proposal. Proposal, then research proposal. That would work. Okay. But see, it's kind of hard. Kind of writing. So maybe scientific research. So those are ways to think about those categories. What's the category? Is it a form? Is it, if you look back over here, you want those to be general. Internal documents, proposals, correspondence. But, be consistent here with what you're calling things. Okay, and then, let's see, kind of writing record of patients' vitals and identification. And I was thinking record of patient's vitals and identifying information, maybe. That just made a little bit more sense to me than identification. Purpose, he says, records details regarding incoming sea turtles. My question here was, is this form only used for incoming? Or is it used to, you know, just try to document the conditions of a turtle that, say, comes in that's got issues or problems or needs to be addressed? I wasn't sure. So I was a little, that's me as a reader. I was a little bit unclear. Or is it just specifically a form that you would only use when, turtles are, because it makes it sound like here, like um, incoming. Are they incoming from, um, you know, Texas Sea Life Center sea turtle? So is it just for turtles coming in that are being found in the sea, or and that, I don't know, that may be more clear. It may be just me getting a little confused by all this. Okay, length, I could think you could just say 2-page. Here, just 1 page. You could get, but then broken down into specific organs, you could put that here maybe, the organ part. Because you're letting the reader know how, what's special about this document. What's special, what could you use? Format, I didn't know what tabulated meant. Tabulated, I wasn't really sure. Questions, maybe it's just a fill in the, it's a, you could format, you could say it's a form, or you could say it's a fill in the blank, or it's set up with questions followed by spaces to write in answers, or maybe something that simple. I don't know. That would make a little bit more sense to me. This one's pretty good. Checklist of definitions divided in, and then, like I said, I would maybe put that over here. Special features, ethical concerns. The author must make sure to fill the document out to the best of their ability. I sort of marked that out because, I don't know, that's kind of a given. That's kind of general information. It's, if you talk about the reasons why it has to, like here, examine the turtle thoroughly. And here again, that's probably a little bit more about what's in the content. But this is wrong or illegible information can lead to the wrong treatment of the sea turtle. See, that's a good concern. And then good job on providing, he's being very specific with his page numbers, his chapters and page numbers. That's very good. Possible causes of abnormalities must be read with absolute scrutiny so that false diagnoses are not made. Must be written in a manner to not imply I think that goes on, disease. And so now you've got a little bit more room to put that in here. And see, these are all going to be not as long, so we can pull these up, and next chart's going to be a little bit more compact. Okay, so now let me say a couple of things about putting in the samples, because like I said, Nick was working really hard to try to figure out how to do this. We talked about a couple of ways, and I asked if any of you guys have any ideas, let us know, because there's always often several ways you can do this kind of thing. So it says here must be logged into Blackboard to open. I think if you're going to say that, let me show you a way to do that. Let's see. I would take that off, and then you can, oops, I didn't want that to happen. That's what happens when you try to deal with these things. At the end of it, you could put an asterisk, and then, oops, got a meeting today. so I just want to close that. If you go down to the end, you could put the asterisk and then put must be logged into Blackboard to open. So that's one way, because you guys can log into Blackboard and you guys could go in and see it this way. So based on, with just us being the audience, our class, then that would work. Now, another thing you might do, let me show you. No, wait, that's not what I wanted. Find it here. Okay, here we go. When you after you finish creating your document and you save it as a PDF, then if you can open it as a PDF, and there are free programs out there where you can do manipulate PDF documents like this. Another option you could do is I could go in here and add. I'm going to add the form. Okay, so here, sorry about that. Dog's barking. That was Maisie. See, if I added here, then I could go back to the first page here, and here, instead of putting the link, I could say see page whatever of the form. So here it would be probably 9 and 10. So there's a couple of different ways you could do that, and it kind of depends on what's going to work best for the reader. I also played around a little bit with making it a let's see, not here, but if I went here and I went insert picture from file, I made a screenshot of the and so it puts it in there that way, which isn't horrible. It makes it kind of small. I'm not exactly sure you'd be able to, I mean, you can make the whole document bigger and maybe see a little bit more about it. But here again, it has to do with, do you want the reader to be able to see every little detail, or do you want them, see, I can look at this and get an overall idea, make it a little bit bigger. And I can get an overall idea of what kind of report it is, which is why the link is here, the link to the example text, because me as a reader, if I'm wanting to, take a closer look at a document, then that's what that is meant for. That's the purpose of that. So I looked at, there is a way to make it maybe make this a thumbnail. And, then the reader could click on the thumbnail and it would open up and make it a little bit bigger. I looked around to kind of figure that out, and I wasn't getting it to work completely. So, but that'd be the kind of thing you could, look at some YouTube videos or ask, Most of the time when you're working on these things, you're going to have support, probably people who know how to do those kinds of things, or friends or other people you could check with. So anyway, Nick's, like I said, worked really hard, and I hope these few little things I've shared with him will be helpful to him and the rest of you guys. And like I said, just do the best you can. This is all about learning. We're learning this stuff. I don't expect it all to be absolutely perfect. I'm not going to count up points if you haven't completely figured something out, but do your best to think about the reader. Don't just put things in because you think, that's what you're supposed to do, or you think that's what I'm telling you as the teacher. Because the main thing I want you to do is think about how to present the information so it's going to make sense to your readers. Here, this is our class, but there's a whole bunch of it, so you got to think about how you're going to make this make sense for all of us. And then the main thing, and like I said, this is what I see being probably the hardest thing for everyone when we're doing with the focus we have in this class. Focus on the document. Focus on how the document is written, not the content say in Nick's example, in this form you cover the cuts on the animal or the bruises, or then you also take the temperature. Those are all content information. Don't focus on the content so much. That's on here a little bit, like the purpose kind of tells you what should be in it, but diagrams, see, that's the kind of thing. How is the document written? What's different about this document? What can you say to describe this document, how it works as something a writer produces? So try to think about those things. So anyway, good job, Nick, and thanks for your patience, and thanks for letting me use yours as an example. And I do appreciate all the hard work you've gone in to try to figure out these problems. You've really done some good thinking, and I really appreciate that. So, okay, so I'll cut it off there. I've already probably gone a little bit long on this one, but anyway, I hope it's helpful to you.